What up?
Hello and welcome to HorsePlayers Happy Hour. We're getting on the air a minute early today because it looks like this Del Mar race is going to start right on time. PTF here with you in the Brooklyn Bunker once again. You see what I mean, JK? I need to get some pictures behind me because it looks like I'm being detained. All that's missing is the bright light. Where are you hanging? You in the backyard at the house or something?
Backyard of the house. Yep. Having a cold beer. I was alive in a bankroll bet today on the show to overtake the boys for $3,000 and ideal potential or whatever her name is. Idea Generation got beat. So that was devastating.
That's no good. Trying to figure out how I can get this stream up here. Producer Craig meant to be with us. He must be in the potty or something. I'm sure he'll be here soon. But I do want to watch this Del Mar race since we went to great lengths this year to secure these rights for our friends at Del Mar Thoroughbreds. Maybe the trick is I need to not have this tab be in the same window as we're watching. I think that will now do it. And now I should be able to add it and we should be okay. We've got a loaded show for you folks. A lot of guests. JK starting off, we're going to be talking about racing from England. We're going to be talking about racing from Del Mar. It's going to be great fun. Speaking of England, one of our guests just arrived in the green room, but he'll wait till after this race and we'll bring him in. Let's see if I got this working now. Oh yeah, look at that. Did you have a chance? Now I know there's this big pick 6 carryover tonight at Del Mar. JK, Frank Scattoni, who's going to be joining us in a little bit, did a show on In the Money Plus, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus about that with Mike Probozzi.
No, looks like we lost Pete. So here I look, I can host. I'm the hostess with the mostest, I think. So anyways, yeah, I did look. There's 2 set. Well, I don't know how the Del Mar race, I'm sure I can try to figure out how to put it up. But Pete will be back before the race, before they break. There's 2 sad things that have happened since I started working at Saratoga every day and being on air. One is that I don't get to hang out at Saratoga as much as I used to. And 2, I don't get to enjoy Del Mar at all, really. It's just the days become so tricky in terms of the racing with the 3-hour difference. And so that can sometimes be a little bit hard. And then here's Pete to save the day.
There you go. I don't know what happened. I was presenting the screen for Del Mar, and then I suddenly got kicked out. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. That was no fun. I was just asking you if you had any opinion on this race or if you'd looked at the pick 6 carryover at Del Mar tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one's going to be tough from the inside, just, a horse that has some tactical speed from the rail. I always like those horses because they'll send them away from there instead of kind of, jacking around a little bit. I think sometimes that can happen from time to time. So send away with some speed from the inside. And I answered the question after you got off is I didn't really have a chance to look, which is one of the, and there's only 2 negatives to my on-air Saratoga gig. I don't get to hang out at Saratoga as much. And right. I don't get to really look at or go to Del Mar enough or at all.
Well, at least you looked at the races that are going to be on the show. We're about to send it out to Trevor Denman with the call.
All in. And away they go. Broke in a good line. Slew's Joy from the inside gate is very fast. Abaddon on the extreme outside goes up to join. Zimba Warrior tucked in third in the gold cap. Outside of that comes Granada Flavor. Great Heart is in the red colors, 4 lengths off the leaders. Then we drop back to Never Seen Before. Cross Examiners racing second last, and Granada Flavor now last, 8 off them. They head to the 3/4 pole, and Slew's Joy tries to slow them down up front. Up alongside of that comes Abaddon. Those two now stride for stride. They've been followed by Bravestone, moving up a close third. Then back to Great Heart, tucked in fourth at the rail, just waiting for room. Zimba Warrior is in the gold cap. Alongside of that comes Granada Flavor. And then we come back to Never Seen Before. They head past the half-mile pole, and Slew's Joy down at the rail, and Abaddon. They still stride for stride. Great Heart tucked in right behind them now, just waiting for room. Bravestone is in the black on the far side, and Granada Flavor now sent along in the white blinkers. Then back to Zimba Warriors, got 5 lengths to make up, and Never Seen Before is last. They are coming to the quarter pole, and now Great Heart has room and just shoots through down at the rail. And Great Heart from third to first and striding away now, leads by 2 as they get to the top of the lane. Great Heart in full flight for the wire. Slew's Joy's battling on gamely in second. Zimba Warrior in the white blinkers is running on. Zimba Warrior coming fast now. Great Heart's got a 3-length advantage. Zimba Warrior closing with each and every stride. Great Heart hanging on to the lead. They hit the wire. Great Heart hung on to win it. Second was Zimba Warrior, and third place went to Never Seen Before.
There you go. Horse ran all right. JK, the favorite, but just much the best there, making that decisive early move. The inside paths had certainly looked okay last weekend. There were a couple of closers. Of course, the one time I needed the speed to hold, I had that conscious thought, when they were turning in, it was like the 1 and the 4 and then everybody else. And I had that thought, well, if I don't win from here, the track will have changed, whatever. The 2 comes from dead last and gets anyway. But yeah, that horse was much the best. And we kick off the contest with one of the favorites there. So we'll see what that does as far as our contest goes.
Did you like the HorsePlayer Happy Hour commercial, Pete? That we did?
It was amazing. You were hilarious. Did he really just spring that on you? Was that staged?
Yeah. No, Lafitte. He just handed me the damn battery.
You had read that cold like a freaking pro.
Well, because I know what it is. I know most of the words because
right. Still, it's very hard to read cold copy. That was funny enough, JK. That was one of the things my dad was famous for. They would always get him, at the radio station, you would bother different people to do ads at different times. If they were ever like in a rush or whatever, like he was famous that you could hand him a piece of paper and he would read it as if rehearsed. I do not have the same skill as many people who've listened to me read ads on our airwaves can attest, but you did it. You got channeling a little bit of the old man. I'm impressed.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a comfort zone, right? Because I know what it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was an impact at all in the.
I think it was decent. We got we were like 144 last week. We're 189 this week. It wasn't like, oh my God, but it was a solid. It's plus 50 over last week, and it's a different format with the Del Mar and Saratoga. I'm neither blown away nor disappointed as we do our customary production meeting in the middle of the show when it comes to that. And hey, it's been fun doing these Friday and Sunday NYRA shows. I may end up making more money than we get paid for these Friday and Sunday NYRA shows just for the money that I win / don't lose by doing the shows, forcing me to do the work. You talk about how busy we get up here. If I'm not on the air, like a day like today, I didn't have time to look, so I didn't go. It was like, you know what? We need to, the fridge is beer. The whiskey bottle selection is down to double digits from triple digits. We need to go correct that. We're out of bird food. Got to go sort that out. These birds are giving me dirty looks in the morning. I don't need that on my conscience. So I went and took care of all that business instead of rolling over there today. What is going on in your bankroll challenge? I think that's an interesting question here as we prepare for the second contest race, which is the next at Saratoga.
Oh, I'm betting. I'm firing away. I mean, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but Paul and them are like, betting $50 a day on, and I'm at 400 today. I think I'm down to started with 4,000. I'm down to 1,800. you know, I talked about it before. I'm not going to say it on the air. Andy's kind of had my back a little bit, but I turned in a wager at 12:58 one day, and the race didn't go off to like 4:30, and I scored for like 3,000, but never made the air, so I can't claim it on the show. So
Can't claim it.
now
That's
the people in their parents' basements on Twitter can
mocking you.
Yeah, I can have fun. I don't care. I got. You can make fun of me in the bankroll challenge. I have 2 seconds in the Breeders' Cup betting challenge. So whatever.
You've won a certain award that, on some level, I know you're still proud of too, because you were out there taking the lumps and getting it done. Don't worry about it, and don't give up. 18.
No, I'm not gonna give up,
baby.
I had him against the ropes today with a 6-1 shot into a Chad Brown favorite on the turf.
What happened in that race? Was it
the horse
trip?
didn't run? No, I just didn't run. You know that horse is. It's that horse that was like Chad's favorite 2-year-old turf horse. It was supposed to be like the best 2-year-old turf horse he's had since Lady Eli, that he like loved, but she just never really materialized. And she's also the one that we all had that big win bet on her. We'd all bet her. We'd all needed her and all these things. And it's that race that was called the no contest a couple years ago when the tractor came on. And we all got a refund, which was nice.
That was amazing. Yeah, we were going to do it in hard that day.
Yeah, it wasn't going to go well.
It's funny. The history of the Chad Brown fastest horses in the world and us, there's a lot of good stories. What was the one that we all bet out on? And I had a bad post. God, I'm almost coming up with the name. Last race of the day. Had a bad post.
It was
walked out of there. We were so disgusted, we started leaving. It was like in a movie.
Good governance.
Good governance. I was going to say Governor Sam, but that's a different horse.
And it's funny about good governance. That's like one of the first groups, if not the first group. It might have been this. If it wasn't the first group, it was the second group that Chad had went over and got from Tattersall's.
Yes.
Like, I think it might have been the newspaper of record group, but good governance was a crazy horse, and he didn't actually run until he was 3. And so, yes,
it was later than that. It was more than 1 year after Lady Eli.
Well, no, not Lady Eli. Newspaper record.
Newspaper record. You said that. My brain is
good. Let's see. Yeah, I remember, Pete.
We're going to be right about that.
I was distraught, and he, wait, yeah.
And the good part of the story, as we're walking out, we all is lost, and it was one of those things you could hear it in the race call, you know. And here come good governance making a bold run from last. And what, the thing just got up in the shadow of the wire and bailed us out.
Yeah, you know, it's the math isn't adding up about it being the first one since newspaper of record, but the rest of that part is true. So an interesting aside here. I am playing I stole this from the Matisses, but I had a friend who will remain nameless that wanted to play like a handicapping game. And a fun handicapping game, if you've never played it, is like a Showvivor thing where you basically have a group of people, everyone picks one horse a day, and you try to
right.
if you're off the board, you are eligible to lose as long as someone finishes worse than you that off the board. So you can run 4th, but you're up to lose if someone doesn't run 5th or worse.
Yep.
Long story short, I ran 5th today with idea generation. So if anyone wants to root for me or against me, my parents-in-law have the 5 in this race, and our mutual friend that sits in the paddock bar with a nickname, he has the 8.
Oh, he's involved in this too. Well, I think Mr. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't even want to be named anymore. We've talked about him 100 times. Did he dress you down and say, they're after me?
I just like to be mysterious. I'm talking about Doogie, and actually, and his son Anthony, they're playing as a team together. When
they're in better shape than your in-laws. Your in-laws are a little vulnerable here. I mean, on the raw math as we get ready to go into the gate. So who would you want to bet in this race though, JK?
Let me remind myself here. I got a million things going on. Hold on. Let me get to it. I actually liked the horse.
They're loading slow.
The Cruise de Catalina, the 2 horse that won first time out for Riley Mott, the Catalina Cruiser, from our friends at Lanes Inn. Source was impressive on debut, was working down at Churchill, came up to New York to run. I like this horse a lot. So I would pick the 2 in here. But Yeah, my eyes are going to be solely on the 5 or the 8 running 6th. Running
You
6th.
need to get somebody behind you after that 5th place finish. What's the tiebreaker if they run the same?
Everyone's out. Everyone's out. If you all run,
I like that.
There's been 3 of us that have run 5th today. So two had my horse, me and someone else had my horse, and then someone had the 5 that just ran 6th in the last race, the race before this. So we basically, I'll drag someone under the water with me if I'm drowning. I'll let someone else come too. Because we allow rebuys. You're allowed a rebuy.
Oh, that's fun.
Your first rebuy is 100 Skittles. Your second rebuy is 200 Skittles. And then there is a one-time option for one person to rebuy for 1,000 Skittles. Only one person can though. Only one person can. So it's like sometimes it's a race to get to that one, but the pool is up to 1,700 Skittles right now. And I'm telling you, sometimes it's more interesting than the real wagering that's going on.
Oh, I love it. Now, this is the official Matisse one, or this is another one?
No, this is not. This is another one. Someone, a friend asked for a little small group to help, and I was like, I got an idea, and I stole the idea from the Matisses. The Matisses do this with all their backyard folks. They usually get about like 30 or 40 people in it, and it's a ton of fun too. But it's a fun way to stay interested and give you something to look at.
Let's go to Frank with the call.
Out very quickly, but it is Easy Play who's fastest. Easy Play takes the lead, usually in second. They're followed by Better Humor Me, and Cruise to Catalina is in 4th. Dolomite inching up on the outside takes 4th.
Which is the number you need off the board here?
The 5 or the 8. They got to be worse than. They have to be worse than 5th. They got to be 6th or worse.
With a half mile to travel. Has it by 2
lengths. You might be in trouble with the 8.
Second and third, they're joined 3 deep by Dolomite.
5, you might be in luck with.
Went in 22 and 2/5 seconds.
The horse is running a little now.
Has 4 lengths to make up. Huge gap to Perpetual Praise, followed by La Banquera. And at the back of the field is still Big Hazel.
How many are up there in the vanguard? Is that like 6 of them?
Making her presence felt on the outside of Easy
I worry
Play.
the 5 is
These
easy.
2 swing for home, head and head. 3 lengths back. Newsly in the red colors, followed by Better Humor Me. Cruise to Catalina on the far outside as Dolomite.
I think you're all right, JK.
Has taken control.
You're all right.
Has a 3-length lead. Cruise to Catalina trying to get into second.
What a suck out.
Dolomite
you really
is just
deserve
too
to be
strong
bounced
and
for
too
this
classy. Dolomite wins by 3.5 lengths. Cruise to Catalina.
Well, the bad news is I can't celebrate. I'm staying at their house.
If they see this clip, you may be in the garage here tonight.
They're at the track. I don't. They're at the track.
You're safe. Nobody tell them. Nobody tell them.
Oh, and listen. My father-in-law is going to be angry because I have a feeling they're huge Duke fans, and I think the reason they picked this horse was La Banquera. It reminds them of that good basketball player with the Duke, Paulo Banquero.
Yep.
And so a hunch play took him to the rack.
There was definitely some posterizing going on as far as the Duke basketball hunch play there. All right, we're going to bring in our next guest, and then we are going to look at a leaderboard. But I think we should bring him in now because he's been waiting so patiently in the green room. So happy to welcome back to the In the Money airwaves our friend Callum Hellawell. Callum, take yourself off mute if you are not aware that you're on mute, and let us know how you're doing. That's his gig. That's his gig, is to get stuck on mute. You're much more of a professional than that. What's up, friend? Seriously.
Did you see how quickly I turned it off mute, though? Did you see how quickly I reacted? I was trying to figure out this little clip mic that I've got on. I've given up with it, so this is entirely pointless now. This is useless. It's gone. Get rid of that. Pointless. Waste of my time. But yeah, so I got myself off mute very quickly. Tried to be as well behaved as possible. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm buzzing for this.
It's our great pleasure, my friend. You and JK have worked together before, or is this your first on-air appearance together?
This is our first on-air appearance together. I think I've followed him a few times. I've come on and really disappointed viewers when he's been on, and then he brought on another non-Caucasian face, and I just let the guard down completely. Now that's basically what's happened here. The viewers will be fuming. What is this? This is a takeover.
That's too funny, man. I love it. Well, he does feel like he has the copyright on getting stuck on mute, so he may request you to not be on again if you pull that maneuver. So
he's DMing me right now. That's him on his phone. I've just got a message. Don't ever be on mute again. Know your place.
That's my act, pal. It's like professional wrestling. If you use somebody else's finishing maneuver, it could be a very awkward conversation with Hulk Hogan in the locker room. Callum, it's wonderful to have you here. It's been great. This is the time of year where the rubber really meets the road in terms of the intersection of the form lines with the European racing and these Breeders' Cup win-in races. We've got a couple of them coming up in the course of the next few days, starting with the King George. And I know the favorite is one where you stuck by before it was cool. The last time we spoke about him was pre the eclipse, and you're a card carrying member of the City of Troy fan club. The last race, if folks didn't see it in the eclipse, it was one of those, you could read it either way. You could read it like, well, that wasn't that impressive for a big favorite, or you could read it, the horse won and everything was against him, and can't wait to see what he does when he gets back into something resembling his conditions. Where do you stand currently with City of Troy?
Well, I've said to everyone, I don't know whether you guys watch Netflix, but there's a film called Set It Up. It was one of the sort of first big rom-coms that ever hit Netflix. There's a big scene during the wedding in Set It Up where the title character goes, you like your friends because, and you love people despite. And this horse won despite everything going wrong. City of Troy, in my opinion, is an absolute monster. The fact that he's by Justify suggests that he'll be even better on the dirt. I'm really, really excited to see where they go with him. It's almost confirmed that he'll be going for the Classic. It's now, with the way that August Rodin's being campaigned now, going for the King George on Saturday. City of Troy missing the King George. It's probably still going to be aimed at the Breeders' Cup Classic, maybe a stint at Saratoga beforehand. I think that's probably going to be the route they go down. But it's hugely exciting because, I mean, this horse is, I can't explain to you, he's not the biggest. There's an argument how big he is. He's certainly not 16-1, but Aidan will keep telling you he's not 16-1 at all on stilts. But he's just built like an absolute truck in front. The maturity he's shown, and he's so barrel-chested and powerful. And the way he really gallops out, even when things were going wrong at Sandown, he was rolling all over the place. But eventually, when he found his rhythm, he just did enough to win. The horse he beat, Al Riffa, is no slouch. Al Riffa is a genuine Group 1 performer, a Group 1 winner at 2, now steadily coming back into form. Wouldn't be surprised to see that horse also going the Breeders' Cup route as well.
Are they? So I thought they were talking Juddmonte next, and then would go back to the dirt. Are they still thinking about the Travers? That would be unbelievable.
Well, this is the point. This is the thing that's confusing everyone, because the Juddmonte is now looking incredibly hot. And there's a lot of people suggesting that maybe if they go to the Travers and miss the Juddmonte, that could be an option. The fact that he was left in the King George field until the late declaration point, let's not forget that was still an option for them as well. So they believe in this horse. Coolmore have never been stronger on a horse, certainly in my experience watching racing, than they've been on City of Troy. You've got members of the Coolmore family who haven't been seen on a race course for 12 years coming to Sandown. We're talking, these people want to go show jumping. They want to be in Aachen in Germany. They don't want to be at Sandown. It's just fascinating to see that they're coming over to see this horse. And yes, maybe he does go for the Juddmonte, and that is an option too. I doubt he'll do both, but I still wouldn't be surprised if they start this American adventure a little bit earlier, knowing now full well he's probably definitely going to the dirt.
What, JK, what a story that would be if, in addition to potentially Torpedo Anna and now, Dornoch and whoever wins the Jim Dandy this weekend, if we had a European, an Irish invader in the field. I mean, this could be one of the most hotly anticipated Travers in years, should that come to pass. Is that, I know you're a man on the inside. You hear about this stuff. Had you heard anything about City of Troy potentially coming over still?
I haven't heard anything, but I would imagine that if things keep trending in the way they are, the boys in navy blue and sometimes royal blue and orange and whatever, they don't turn down an opportunity to try to win the Classic when they have a really good horse. And I don't see a reason you would feel like they would be encouraged by the pedigree as well. The justify part. I mean, they brought over horses that don't have the pedigree that of a justify and have tried. So why the hell would it stop them now? I think if the horse is sound and still trending in the direction he's trending now, he's more likely to be in the gate than a Torpedo Anna, because she's not going to beat the boys on the Travers.
Interesting. Well, we'll see how it plays
I
out.
love Kenny. Don't get mad at me. I'm still, if she does, if she wins the Travers.
Did you have a run in with Kenny McPeak? Was he like, "Don't ask me for car talk anytime soon. I don't want to hear you bad mouthing my superstar filly"?
He texted me that I might need another tattoo. And I told him that if she wins the Travers, I will get a Torpedo Anna tattoo. 100%. 1,000%.
She would start in that vaunted company. That I don't know if Callum knows your history. So Jonathan has a future in politics, and I don't levy that insult lightly, because he has on his body tattoos of both Rachel Alexandra and Zenyatta. You're supposed to pick one. He's got both. Maybe Torpedo Anna can join the party. Callum, I want to talk to you about this King George and the horses who actually stayed in the field, starting with another one I know you're high on. Give us a little bit of an overview, of course, with an eye towards who you think might end up running at Del Mar in the first weekend in November.
Yeah, this King George is fascinating. It looks like an absolute belter of a race taking place on Saturday. I'm going to be down at Ascot watching it in the flesh. And let's start with August Rodin. I remember, Pete, I was talking to you about responsible gambling when I said put everything you have on this horse, the Children's College Fund, the car, the house, everything you have, put it on this horse, because they finally worked out how to ride him. And if the ground comes up good or quick, forget everything. Put it all on. Just dissolve all your assets into cash and lump it on this pony, because this horse is a beast. I shit you not. He is an absolute animal. When they get him in front and he's allowed to dictate proceedings and he doesn't get moody and he just flexes and swaggers on his opposition, he's the one they have to beat. In the Prince of Wales, they did exactly that, and he was so impressive. Now, people will say the French horses got quite close to him, but he was toying with them. He had plenty more in the tank, so he would be the certain number one play for me. But the boys in royal blue, in the case of Godolphin, sending Rebels Romance, who is the globe-trotting superstar.
You know
Rebels
about him.
Romance. Yeah, we know one horse has definitely got his eyes over on the USA. He's already been there and done that. So I imagine he's another horse that'll be going in that direction. That win in Chartin may not have been quite as impressive as it looked with the travel on paper and everything. It rained heavily that day. The ground kind of went his way, and against all the other local runners, he didn't win massively impressively. I thought he went away from the field and got a little bit sleepy and a bit bored at the end of things. I think there's more in the tank. But if you look at his British form, there's lots of ones, but it's in Group 3s. It's in Group 3s, in Group 2s, and then he went over to Meydan. He's been so well campaigned. Credit to whoever the racing manager is at Godolphin, because A, that's the coolest job in the world, and B, they've done a magnificent job just getting him into these races that he can win. This is a different level. There's been a lot of confidence about him. There's a lot of talk. A lot of my friends in the Middle East, they love him. A lot of my friends in the UK really love him. I struggle to see him beating the favourite right now. Underneath, you've got Blue Stocking. She could be a filly and mare type. She is absolutely relished getting up to 4 years old now. She seems like a whole new horse. She's grown into herself. I wish we kept more fillies in training at 4, because you can see the development that they show when you say, let's not go to stud. And I know Juddmonte are a bit lucky in that way. They don't have to send them so early, but she has just thrived. And she's matured like a fine wine, I keep telling everybody. She gets better and better with age, and she's done everything right so far. This will be a big step up, but she's earned her right. Luxembourg comes here for winner Epsom in the coronation, where Ryan dictated the proceedings. Ryan won't be on today or on Saturday. Wayne Lawden's in the saddle, but that's not a step down in jockey. Wayne's a very, very capable rider. You've got Sunway, who was last seen finishing second in the Irish Derby for David Manouzier. Come on, I mean, David Manouzier has been the trainer in form that's not won a classic. He's had runners that have finished second. He's had runners that have finished third. He's had runners that have finished fourth in all the classics this season in England, France, and Ireland. And unfortunately, he still can't get his head in front in a classic. Sunway, his best horse, will be looking to do that today. Not in a classic race, but in a Group 1 nonetheless. And don't forget Dubai Honor. the forgotten horse in this field, around 22-1, a winner last time out for William Haggas, Tom Marquand. Is there a better jockey riding at the moment? Just power packed in a finish. So Dubai Honor, I think, could probably outrun the odds. But for me, what looked to be 3 weeks ago a bit of an afterthought of a race has turned into a really fascinating contest. But I'm going nowhere apart from the favourite, who is, in my opinion, just sets on legs as a racehorse, really. I just absolutely adore him. And I can't wait to see him just be ridden positively, turn into that Ascot straight and just power away.
What do you think they're thinking in terms of his Breeders' Cup target? Is it definitely the turf again, or could he be one who might try the dirt as well? In that theory, JK was saying before that we've seen them take some horses where it wasn't necessarily a slam dunk on pedigree and take a shot. I mean, you wouldn't think they'd run them both in the Classic, but I don't know. What are you hearing? What are you thinking? What are you knowing?
Well, remember last year, before City of Troy, Aidan O'Brien said in his post-race interview with Nick Luck, I remember it clear as day, he said, we want to go for the dirt with this horse.
Right.
They were really excited about the idea of going to the dirt for the Japan market, because obviously Japanese racing very strong with their dirt stuff as well. So the whole idea was that this son of Deep Impact would, of course, go for the dirt. But now City of Troy's appeared, justify American interest. I imagine he'll go for the dirt and August Rodin will go for the turf again. But you saw what he did on a sound, fast surface. Like, this horse is a monster. And I think he's been criminally underrated because he's had a few really bad efforts and there's no getting away from that. But when they ride him like he's the best horse in the race and they give the big middle fingers to everything else in the field and just say, catch us if you can, he's so good.
You know, as you discuss him, Callum, what I'm hearing, JK, is it's almost as if, you know, it hasn't happened yet, obviously, but if a runner like Fierceness in the Jim Dandy this weekend, there was a point in their careers where you could have made an analogy between those two runners, where it was sort of a good race, bad race pattern. With Auguste Rodin, it seems like he has now just turned the corner and is the good horse. It makes me wonder if we could see, you know, if the penny ever fully drops for a horse like for a horse like Fierceness, if he could, you know, become that status where he could become a major contender for a race like that. You see that happening? I mean, have you noticed that before? And could you see that happening with a runner like Fierceness?
Yeah, well, so I'm not a big I think it's kind of hocus pocus to think that there's some science to good race, bad race, good race, bad race. Yeah. I mean, I like, what are you trying to tell me is happening? That the horse exerts himself so much they need a bad race before they can run a good race again? I think a lot of situations are circumstantial, right? And it just so happens that when there's a circumstance that happens and you look down and there's a pattern, and then people go, oh, there's a pattern, but it's not really a pattern, right? It's like, I think with Fierceness, he ran well on debut. And then he ran crappy in the Champagne on a sloppy racetrack that he might not have liked very much. And then he came back and he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And then he had a comeback race where he didn't run well. And then he ran well in the Florida Derby where he got loose on the lead. And then he didn't run well in the Kentucky Derby. But there's circumstances surrounding that. I'm not a big, and plus he's going to probably gallop on Saturday in the Jim Dandy. And then everyone's going to say, told you, good race, bad race, good race, bad race. Yeah, I don't.
One of the reasons I want Sierra Leone to win, actually, is to not have to listen to that. But there is a great line. I wish I could quote who the originator of it. Certainly not me, but it was something to the effect of, the human brain is so good at discerning patterns that sometimes it sees patterns that aren't really there. And I do think sometimes that in and out thing can be that. Callum, we've got just a couple minutes till this race at Del Mar, at which point we will let you get on with your evening. We appreciate you hanging out with us late tonight. But I did want to ask you quickly, and I know the field, we don't have final decks, etc., but we do have the Sussex Stakes at Goodwood on, I believe it's Tuesday, and we will not have another HorsePlayers Happy Hour before that. So I was just curious to know if you had any kind of early view on that giant Grade 1, one of the biggest mile races of the year, frequently a key pointer to a race like the Breeders' Cup Mile. If you had any early thoughts on that to share before we let you get on with life.
Well, Peter, firstly, that quote that you mentioned there, that's from Hulk Hogan. So that was one of his peerless words of wisdom. This race is actually on the Wednesday from Goodwood, the Suffolk Stakes. And it's It's a corker, but it's missing one key horse. If Charin was in this race, it would be probably the race of the season, because you'd have the top miler of the 4-year-olds taking on the best milers of the 3-year-olds. Unfortunately, Charin is going elsewhere. A lot of people are saying he's running scared. I think they might be, but I've got a lot of faith in that horse. I'm a little bit disappointed he's not going. However, Rosalian looks like a proper horse. That win at Ascot was just mind-boggling. The fact that his rival Henry Longfellow, everything went right for this horse tactically, and still Sean Levy on Rosalian got him up in the dying stride, finishing like a train, hitting the line hard. He's exciting. The horse that's on the comeback trail is Notable Speech. If he runs, I mean, it would be a Royal Ascot repeat if Notable Speech was to turn up as well. So yeah, he'd be an interesting runner, but again, it's whether you like a horse on the back of a poor run. The one for me, price would be the French horse, Factor Cheval, given possibly the worst ride in the history of bad rides. And the first race of Royal Ascot a few weeks ago, where they just went on the wrong side of the track. Both him and Big Rock decided to. Well, I don't know what the jockeys were saying in the stalls, but there were two French lads and they had a nightmare. It was an absolute disgrace having backed Factor Cheval that day. I spent most of the race swearing at the television screen. But he's back now. He's back to Goodwood. He ran a stormer here in this race last year on really deep ground. If the ground was to come up on the softer side, he would be one to go for. And that's worth mentioning with Auguste Rodin. If the ground is soft, stay away. But as long as the ground is on the good or firmer, that's when you get with it. If it's good to soft, I'd be slightly concerned with Auguste Rodin. If the price, he'll drift if it is, and if the price becomes backable, I'd jump in. But if it's soft, I'd stay away. I will admit that I think he's brilliant, but I think he's very ground dependent. So he wants a sound surface. So ensure that he's got a sound surface on Saturday and on Wednesday. I'm sticking with Rosalian. I think he's a very good horse, but if the ground does soften up, Factor Cheval will be a nice one at a price, I reckon, for redemption for the French.
Love it. Callum, appreciate you coming on. We'll be bothering you again. We got plenty of interconnected races with English and Irish racing and the Breeders' Cup going forward. We'll be talking soon, my friend.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for having me on. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Jonathan. I'll text you later. We'll talk about the black meetings and stuff like that, and just make sure everything's sorted. Obviously, we'll have to talk to the commissioner. You know, Megan Thee Stallion's there. Kamala's had a big week, so we just need to all get together, have a chat, let everybody know what's good, because I'm concerned that we might be moving too fast. You know, yes, we can.
Oh my God, amazing stuff. We'll leave it right there, with you, Callum.
Let me leave. See you later, guys. Have a good one. Best
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother.
Too funny. All right, we are getting in the gate now, so it's a little late to ask you to give a tip, JK. But if you have one at the ready, I'll take it.
I don't want to. No, because if it loses, I'll be an idiot. If it wins, I'll make people
to
mad.
the outside gate.
Exactly.
Dino Dave coming
we'll
up.
see what happens here, and then we'll do a
You
check-in with the
didn't
leaderboard.
get away with sex on legs on Fox? Probably not, huh?
You should ask, because if you can, he'd give it to you. He's generous.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, he's good. He can turn a phrase, that kid.
Go again.
Always I've enjoyed working with him. He was a researcher still is a researcher. Still does that job over at Sky. We'll talk more after this race.
Beginning. Just Trust Me in the blue blinkers broke fast alongside El Ondiado between runners. On the far side, a Vorchante in the blues very fast as well. Mr. Machu Picchu's in fourth, 3 lengths off the leaders, then back to Escape Plan down at the rail. On the far side, Kangaroo Coast in the white cap starts to make some headway. Giant Luther's a good 10 lengths off these leaders. Dino Dave is back second last, and then Valentine's Candy. They are coming to the quarter pole now, and A Vortsante on the outside, a narrow leader. Just Trust Me is going with him down at the rail. It's another 4 lengths back to El Ondiado. And behind that is Mr. Machu Picchu, but he's well beaten. He's dropping back. They come for home now, and it is A Vortsante, just the leader. On the inside, Just Trust Me, battling back. These two are head and head. They run down to the wire. A Vortsante, a narrow leader. A Vortsante, one at ahead. Second, Just Trust Me. Third was El Ondiado.
There you go. Let me ask you a strategic question for a second, JK. 7-race contest. How, if at all, does your strategy change? I mean, do you think you can get away with stacking favorites more than in a 12-race event? or are you still so worried about that type of result, 8-1 or whatever, that you would eschew any shorter price that you didn't love?
No, it's funny. I'm curious. I know you asked the question because we're doing a thing where we're doing this thing together. And so you, being a good host, you ask a question, you let me answer it. But I'm curious if you actually know the answer to that question from me. What's my answer to that question?
I think your answer to that question is it just becomes a play who you like situation. And if it's a sequence where you love the favorites and want to stack them, you will. But in an open race, you're gonna lose those. You're not gonna play a favorite you don't like because it's a short sequence, and you'll just get creative and just try to be right one time.
1000%. I always tell people always ask me all the time. Ever since I've been in contests, even when I was at the place with the letters, doing the other place with the letters and the you know what I'm saying?
We got a lot of places with letters. This is horse racing. It's one place with the letters after the other. Damn alphabet soup around here.
Yeah, but the place with three letters.
ITM. We're not helping the problem. BC, ITM.
The place with three letters is great. The place with 4 letters in New York is great. There's some other 4-letter places that, but my point is that
you might have some 4-letter words for. Is that where you're going with this?
I did a mentor thing there where I used to have to talk to a lot of players who were getting started in contests. They used to always ask me. It's a question I got all the time. Well, how do you know whether to play? How do you know what in this tournament? There's 12 people. It's $100. It's $500. It's all the same answers to me. You have to just play what you like because it has to be the opinion that you feel about the races that come up. Because what happens if the people that watch Saratoga today? What happens if all 12 races are races like the 5th at Saratoga where Unlimited Potential was dropping in for 16 and he won for fun? So what if every race is that? Are you going to lock yourself into, I'll never take a 2 to 5. I'm always going to take the 7 to 1 shot no, you just got to the sequence
situation.
The sequence dictates what you're going to do. Now, and here's the other thing too, is if you like some clever first time starter that's 7 to 1, who's trained by, some cheeky trainer that can pop first time out. Do you want not using the 2 to 5 shot Unlimited Potential to be the reason you get beat because you were locked in to some, EV police Twitter account that I have to take a 6 to 1 shot because if I don't,
they're robots now. These people, I kind of like that.
Just play what you like. Just play what you like, And that's an
exception. I generally completely agree with you, of course. And that was some of the best advice in winning contest player. Paul Sherman is the first person I ever heard say, play what you like, put it another way. Chris Couples, pick winners, similar ideas. There are some things that, I don't mean to bring up a sore point, but a contest like the NHC that is 3 days long and has, you can't control your staking. I do think it's reasonable to say in the first 2 days of an event like that, I'm going to have something weird's going to have to happen in an optional race for me not to play a 4 to 1 or higher. And some people would put that number a lot higher.
But those are circumstances. Like when I used to play in that contest, which I won't ever again, I had a rule.
You couldn't just you had to get the jab in.
I'm just being clear. I only would play 7 to 1 shots or higher. That's it. Only 7 to 1 shots. Nothing else. I would never play something lower than 7 to 1 on day one, because if a 2 to 1 shot wins early on day one, it's not a problem for me, right? Like no one's advancing to this position that I just can't deal with. Now, late in the day, like say you try to plan it out, and say there's a couple horses late in the day that I thought were going to be 7 to 1 shots, and they ended up going off at 4 to 1, which can happen. So I skipped them. So then I show up late and I'm in a tough spot where I have to make another play because you have to do so many plays. In that point, I'll take a 6 to 5 shot.
Right. Yes.
Or, you find something that maybe drifts up, but I will allow myself to get off of that rule, but that's my starting point. So I don't have a problem with starting point rule situation, but just like we were talking about with Callum, like the race on, off thing. Like, so you're telling me that if Fierceness runs off of the screen on Saturday, that you're not going to bet him in the Travers because on, off. Like,
Doesn't
I
make
think
sense.
that's a mistake. I think it's a mistake.
When the penny drops, the penny drops. I mean, I think it's an interesting, City of Troy is probably the better example, really, than Augusta Rodin. But they've both had their in and out moments, and that's just horses, right? I mean, they're operating on a whole other wavelength than we are, and God bless the ones that fire their shot every time. And I note it. I'm a lot more interested in a horse as a betting vehicle who fires their shot every time. But let's face it, man, those are few and far between, especially with younger horses. And I think, being flexible and not too locked in to any one way of looking at it is just a smarter way to be. Oh, so I was telling about meeting Callum. So I met him. He still is, but I met him when he before he had done on-air work. He was a researcher for Sky Sports. Do you guys have researchers at Fox? Do you have people? You don't. You guys do it all yourself, right?
No. We have people. We have a lot of people on the team.
Who dig up stats and stuff.
Well, it's not like they're just like ice cold stat people. Like there's a bunch of producers. Like there might be a situation where we're on the air and I can say like hey, how many wins did IRAD have last year? And they'll look it up for you. But we don't have a lot of people. I mean, honestly, and I mean this respectfully, Andy Serling does a lot. When he does his preparation for Talking Horses, he'll give a lot of stuff. But no, we don't have a hardcore one.
But yeah, I mean, it's similar. He would have been in that role, and we just had very enjoyable conversations, and it reminded me of talking to somebody like Matt Bernier when he was 22 years old, and just the enthusiasm for the game and the knowledge and the passion. It just I love it when the youngs are into it, JK. It's that now that you're becoming more of an established old, you probably appreciate it more too.
Whoa. Pete, did I tell you that I did I just saw it right before we got on, so I'm excited about it. I filmed on Wednesday. I filmed Cart Talk with Mike Smith.
Remember you mentioned it on the show. We got a couple of nice notes from people who said thank you, JK, for pointing out that Mike Smith bothered to come to town for one mount. And what a great nugget handicapping wise that was.
It was awesome. It was so much fun. Look, I don't like act like I'm like I am horse racing now or anything like that. But like the fact that I work with all these people and I see all these people and I'm around all these people and I say hello to all these people, it's really cool for me. But it still doesn't hit like hanging out with Mike Smith. Like that still reaches me in a way that like nothing else does. Like I'm just such a huge fan. I told him too, and part of it got cut out. So I told him that like, so many of the turning points of my horse racing career are centered solely around horses whose back he sat on. Right. Like my $5 across the board on Giacomo when I ordered 3 books off of Amazon that night and started reading them. The pick 4 score at Belmont where he was at when he was on Drosselmeyer, and I won that money that allowed me to really start playing the game. I was a high school teacher. Like I didn't have in football. I was a football coach. I was a facilitator in the classroom, but like it's just all Mike Smith. And then I don't want to spoil it for the Cart Talk, but there's another horse he rode who's tattooed on my arm that will never lose its meaning. And like, even when I'm sitting with him, I'm just starstruck. He's an absolute superstar.
One of the nicest guys. I met him when I was a 25-year-old horse racing fan. I had just met Sean Clancy. And there was just some random day after the races at Belmont where we ended up going to, like, Sean was just pals with him they would sweat in the steam room, in the hot box, in the jocks room together. And they became friends. And we went to some dinner in whatever, I don't even remember the place, Floral Park, some near after Belmont kind of thing. And, for me, it was the same idea, just starstruck, but also like amazed at how much like he cared. Like he just had a very obvious caring soul. You know, I remember, this is funny. I hope he won't mind my telling this story, but I remember that Sean at some point, it wasn't like he was cursing like a sailor, but he said something to the effect of, he used the Turk phrase that we've all used 100 times, God damn it. And I remember Mike Smith saying to Sean at that point, like, you really shouldn't say that, because every time you're riding and you go over one of those fences, I pray to God you're going to be okay. You really shouldn't be saying that. And Sean was like, yeah, I know. You're right. You're right. I mean, but just like, he's a soulful. I think that's the word I'm looking for Mike Smith. Yeah,
but
how cool is
I
that?
will say this, though, now that I see that who's in the green room, don't pop him in yet. But I'm going to tell a funny story.
No, we're going to do the Saratoga race, and then we'll bring him in.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to tell a story before he comes in now, before the race.
Okay. We can let you kick after this Saratoga race, JK, also.
Yeah, that's fine. This person, okay, that's going to come in next. I pulled one of the fastest moves you could ever pull on someone on this person. So we're at Santa Anita. We're hanging out at the Eddie Logan. You know, I was obviously participating in the Eddie Logan and what you do to participate in the Eddie Logan. This person was not participating like I was, but we were heading down to San Diego. And at some point, you know, he found out I was going to San Diego. He's like, hey, I'll give you a ride. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I wasn't like Uber or something crazy. So I get in the car with him and I say, hey, listen, man, like, you know, I'm not going to fall asleep or anything. Like, I'm going to roll with you here. We're going to be in this thing together. We're going to go. Before we got on the highway, I was out. I was out snoring probably. And I woke up in the driveway of my San Diego, my La Jolla Airbnb. This person got me there safely while I pulled the worst okie doke you can pull on someone, telling them you're not going to fall asleep, and then they just drive me 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Well, we'll add. We've joked about you being an Uber driver, JK, from your podcast. I think was it Chris who's in the comments today who said that when you've appeared on these shows from your front seat, that it's nice that your Uber passenger doesn't mind. Well, in this case, we'll have your actual Uber driver on. But first, we're going to get to this race at Saratoga. Here's Frank with the call.
Our future is now. Coffee Maker, hard ridden for early speed. And outside of them, Run for the Hills is a close-up third. Don't Look Back at All, Carry Along the Inside is in fifth. Then comes Freedom Speaks. Dance Macabre 7 or 8 lengths.
You have any rooting interest here at all, JK?
Is just outside.
No wagers or anything like that.
And Zeitlos,
I do the Godolphin horse worked with Star of Mystery, so I'm curious to see how that one runs.
For the quarter pole together.
Anything for the Survivor? Did anybody play anything you can be rooting down?
No one played this. I bet they probably. You know, I had Roses of Deborah circled. I might have played her if she would have.
She got scratched because she had a fever earlier in the week, according to David Gears, whose name I finally pronounced correct.
No, Kate just said that on the show as well.
How about this down the center from the Blue Horse?
Complete cavalry charge coming.
Nah, not going to quite get there. 8.
Surging. It's going to be Don't Look Back at All in a photo finish victory.
Don't Look Back at All. I love that name. West Point Silks gotten there. Seeing the West Point Silks makes me think of the show that I did recently with Shannon Kelly for our friends at the Jockey Club, and it gets into Thoroughbred Aftercare, which of course is the beneficiary of these shows, Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. We changed that up on you. That was my note for you. You did an amazing job, and I do not mean to break shoes here, JK. But the charity partner, and we still love TRF, but the charity partner on our side this year for HorsePlayers Happy Hour is actually Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga, Kim Weir's landing spot in the post-TRF age. But both do all three of those organizations do amazing job helping humans and horses. And if you want to hear some stories of Thoroughbred Aftercare that involve some West Point horses, check out the most recent episode of On the Lead. All right, should I kick you, or do you want to thank your old Uber driver personally?
I'll tell him thank you, and then I'll go home.
Okay, there we go. We bring him in now, coming to us live from Del Mar. He is Frank Scatoni. What's up, buddy?
Look at me, all grown up. I went from JK's personal chauffeur to the paddock here at Del Mar doing your segment. So I feel like Ronnie the limo driver from the Howard Stern show. Now he's a celebrity. And good to see you, JK.
Thank you for getting me there safely, Frank. I appreciate it.
I hope you left a big tip. Let's put it that way.
I wanted to say he had every right to fall asleep because I was probably droning on about a bad beat story.
Anyone's entitled to fall asleep.
Exactly.
You know,
Like, Frank, I heard this 3 times already.
Another mutual friend of Frank and mine had the best line ever about bad beat stories, explaining exactly why they are so boring. Do you remember his line?
I don't.
They're all boring because they're all the same. I should have won and I lost. Get out of town. Nobody wants to hear, unless, I mean, there are wrinkles that make them special. You know, the Harvey Pack Bad Beat Story contest years ago yielded some gems, but I would say 9 out of 10 are complete, flots.
My favorite thing about being in the world of ADWs is that a lot of people don't actually have physical tickets. So the worst to me is when someone comes up after a race and just shows me their ticket and then stares at me, and I go, all right, well, let me look. Okay, who ran 4th? I don't. It's playing the super. I don't know. It's like 6. Okay, well, you had that one. This. It's just dizzying.
It kills all the narrative momentum, doesn't it? It kills all the narrative momentum.
You're nicer than I am. That's why you got me there safely. Because when people do that to me, I go, hey man, look, I don't. You got to tell me what happened. You got to tell me what happened, buddy. I can't read.
17 races a day.
Exactly. Let me check the charts. It's just like
some guy did to me the other day. He comes up to me. I'm standing, like, we get off the show. I'm standing with my wife, my son, my family. He comes up to me, shows me a screenshot, puts it in my face, and says, "Read this." It's like a long one, like you just broke up with your girlfriend. A long one. And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna read that. Like, I'm not reading that. And I said, just tell me what's going on. And he basically was trying to tell me about how 2 or 3 years ago at a yearling sale, he told someone how they should have bought this horse that just won for 40 the other day. Like, dude, I don't care. Why are you doing this to me?
It's so funny. Oh my God. But you know what? That's why we love the game, because there's so many characters, right?
Characters is the nicest way to put it. The nicest way to put it. JK, we'll let you get on with your evening. Always good catching up with you. Hopefully we'll see you this weekend. Funny enough, Doogie just texted me about getting dinner, so I may actually see the man. He's been more of a rumor this meet than an actuality, but that might be my fault as well. We'll talk soon, JK. Appreciate having you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Good seeing you, brother.
You too.
Good stuff. All right, Frank.
So the only reason why I get close sometimes, I don't want to freak out your audience, but since I'm outside and this sound is through the speaker, I just want to make sure I could hear everything. So if I look like a bug, sorry.
We have some workarounds for that. We'll talk about them. Speaking of tech workarounds, and don't worry if you can't do it, but if you can turn your computer to the side, my OCD will be much happier because.
Oh, I'm on the phone. Am I sideways?
You're long. Can you see? You can't see the full shot. We have the black bars next to your face. If you turn it the other way, I think you'll fill the screen.
Let's see.
Let's see.
This way?
Yeah, usually that does it, but it's not doing it. You must have a lock setting on your screen. Go back the other way. That's just totally bizarre.
I'm sorry. I've never done this before. We'll have to do a test during the week and fix it.
The host failed. We should have tested it. Anyone who has if you have a neurotypical brain, you probably don't care. For me, the black bars, I don't like them. But anyway, it is not any kind of problem. It was wonderful being out there for Del Mar opening weekend. Had so much fun seeing you and Terry and the crew. Really had a great time. Also happy to be back here in Saratoga, and very excited about what we've got coming up, including this next race at Del Mar. But before we talk about that, I do want to talk to you about some action coming up this weekend. But it sounds like you might have something you want to talk about first.
Well, I mean, it's $145,000 carryover, pick 6, right? We've got 10 minutes to post, right? Hopefully everybody's getting their tickets in.
This is the first race of the carryover. I know you and Mikey P did a nice show on the In the Money Plus side. Folks want to check that out, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus, the way to sign up for that. Loads of extra content. I'm going to be doing some extra stuff this weekend as well. But I've been enjoying Mike has become such a key member of the team. It sounds like you and he got along like a house on fire.
Yeah, Mike was great. I mean, no offense to you, Pete. I love talking to you. I could talk to you all the time, but it's nice when somebody mixes it up, right? I had Nick guest hosted one time, Spencer one time. Now Mike, it's nice. It keeps me sharp and on my toes. So we had a really good conversation. And the thing that I really liked about it is that we had some different opinions in the races. And we actually, I made him a friendly head-to-head wager in one of the races because he liked a horse who I wasn't crazy about, and I liked a horse that he wasn't crazy about. So we had a lot of fun with it.
It was, in fact, John Gasper who made the Uber driver comment, not Chris. I knew it was one of our hardcore regulars. Sorry, John.
Nice.
Hopefully we'll see you up here soon. And Chris, hopefully you don't mind with the misattribution there. Are you playing this? Be honest. How strong are you going after this pick six?
Yeah, no, I put in a ticket because I felt like I could go tight in a couple of legs. I actually used the all ball here. We talked about this, on Mike's show. I do have some fuzzies that I like, but looking at this race, if anyone can say, boom, that's the horse, good for them. This is probably the toughest race I've seen to handicap in the first 3 days. That's how hard I think it is. There's not a lot of quality speed, and typically that's what you like to look for in these 5 furlong turf sprints. There is a speed horse who I looked at 20 to 1. I can't see the odds board behind me now, Pete, but it's number 7, Gritty Girl.
16.
Yeah. Like I said, there's not a lot of quality speed in here. And she's not exactly quality either, but she has a lot of things going for her. Most importantly, the fact that Maldonado is riding, and he is the best gate jock here in Southern California, and he's very aggressive. And like that this horse was able to prep at Los Al in one of those 1,000-yard races. So they were just using that race to get speed into her and break on top, hope for the best. That being said, my top pick in the race is number 3, She's Got Away, for Billy Joel fans out there.
Cue Billy Joel. It might have another meaning in this pick six at Del Mar.
Oh, which one? What's the other one?
Oh, you don't remember that line? That was something we would say. When.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I couldn't hear you. I thought you were saying there was another Billy Joel horse.
No. I said cue Billy Joel. That was the
Easy
line.
money, baby.
Exactly. Back in the day when we were researching winning contest player, especially, I think I even shoehorned that story into the book. I've had a few people come up to me and tell me that they enjoyed that after you get that, whatever. It doesn't have to be a short price, but any, strong opinion, you press it, it wins. You say, cue Billy Joel.
Cue Billy Joel. Yes, and younger and more arrogant days when we thought this was literally an easy game. Little did we come to find out that this is the hardest game ever. But sometimes they just leap out on the page at you, and I always say this when I hit something nice when I'm doing a write-up. I say, it's always nice when they do exactly what you want them to do. They don't do it all the time, but they do it sometimes. I mean, I'm forgetting the exact way I say it, but sometimes they do exactly how you think the race is going to unfold. So
our great friend and mentor William Murray had a line like that. It was
maybe that's where I stole it from.
They run once in a while. They run like trained squirrels. I think
that's right.
It was something like that.
Yes, that was it.
And it is wonderful when it turns out that way. What do we think about the favorite in this spot? What do we think about this 9 runner, the favorite? Is this horse to fade or one of these, you don't want to key, but you don't want to fade?
No, I mean, it's funny. I mean, so currently the 9 is the favorite at what price?
5 to 2.
5 to 2. Well, the morning line favorite was number 5, Recinto Romper at 2 to 1. The 9 was 8 to 1 on the morning line. So taking a ton of steam. I absolutely gave that horse a chance. But it's a huge dropper. This horse was running, I believe, for 80,000 against non-winners of 2 horses. I don't have my form out right now, but memory serves me correctly. And it's just dropping. Get a win in for the tag. Problem I have with that is I try to shy away from the outside posts in these turf sprints when the rails are out, especially if the horse isn't going to gun hard for the lead. So I could see this horse just kind of tracking in third and getting that wide journey that is difficult to win with over this course when the rails are out. Probably, the best horse in the race on his best day, or I guess I should say her best day, But it doesn't have to win, but I would absolutely use. That's why I went all in this race. But I don't see. I mean, she's a joker. If she runs the race she ran last year off a similar layoff as she is today, and the works indicate that she's ready to fire, I think she's going to be very, very tough. Can you tell me what she's at? The 6?
The 6 is 9-1.
Wow. So nice little drift there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just the other one I want to mention, number 6. I'm sorry, no, the 3. She's got away. What price is the 3? My bad.
9-2 for the Billy Joel runner.
Okay, yeah. So the other one, there's another she's in here. She's a joker, number 6. Not much to recommend on paper, but you have to look at that last race as a total form darkener on dirt, trained by Peter Miller. And what does Peter Miller do out here? He wins turf sprints. He's one of the best.
He's not sneaky at all either, Frank. This is a man who once bragged about hiding a putover from his own father. So we can take. And I say that with respect as a fellow degenerate. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. At Santa Anita a couple of years ago, he absolutely did.
They're on the turf course. They're on the turf course here, Frank. I don't want to ruin your whole day, but I do want, we have about probably 2 minutes to just get your quick thought on this Bing Crosby. JK and I are going to have a whole video up on YouTube, on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe over there, as well as the Breeders' Cup YouTube channel, to never miss any of our YouTube exclusive content. But I was just curious if you had a strong opinion in the race.
I don't have a strong opinion, but what an awesome race. It's probably one of the better renewals of that race that I've seen. Obviously, you have the Chosen Vron, the best caliber in training. Yeah, but here's the thing, Pete, and the reason why I don't want to, I don't want to sound wishy-washy, but I don't want to commit because I really want to see how the track is playing. Once again today, 2 speed horses. Every race so far on the dirt this meet has been won on the front end or very close to it, except for one. And that race fell apart.
Except the one where I needed the pace to hold together.
Exactly. We had the second and third, King Diamond the whole way.
Sheriffs from the clouds.
From the clouds. And they went fast and the race fell apart. But even like not just talking about horses who win. No one's making any ground. Like no one's even putting in a late run to get third. It's just once you hit the top of the lane, if you're not within a length of the lead, you have no shot. So I don't want to say, who my pick is right now, because if it continues to be speed, I'm looking for, the inside speed horses. If it's not, and it's more of a fair track, then yeah, I'm okay with the Chosen Vron being outside. So again, I don't want to be wishy-washy about it, but ask me in a couple of days and I'll give you a better answer.
Let's talk about the short list then. Maybe that's the better.
Right now my top pick's the Baffert on the bottom. I mean,
really?
Yeah, I mean, horse has done nothing wrong.
Neither of the 2 races have done anything. I just don't think the horse is that fast. I mean, it's Baffert. Could he kick sand in my face? Of course he could with this Jackstown, right? Because Jackstown is the horse you're talking about.
Jackstown, yeah.
But I mean, to me, that horse can't sniff the lead based on pace figures with Straight No Chaser and Chosen Vron in there.
Not expecting the horse to be on the lead. Drawn outside, he can just get good position and be within a length of the lead. Okay. That's where I want to be. I don't want him to get up into a speed duel because there are a lot of really, really fast horses in that race. My point is, Pete, the horse has done nothing wrong. Baffert obviously tuned that horse up off the long layoff. The horse won easy. And now he's running him here. I mean, I've seen this over and over again. Like if Baffert brings the horse back to run in a graded stakes, it's because he believes the horse is good enough to win. And we might see that horse go on for the second half of the year and be the top sprinter in America for all we know.
I just saw the morning line for the first time. I capped without it and was sort of shocked to see Chosen Vron as the 6-5 favorite with Straight No Chaser at 6-1. I mean, if those numbers played out like that, I would go Straight No Chaser every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Chosen Vron. But I think they'll be much closer in odds than that. That's just how I saw it. And Anarchist.
You have Anarchist, yeah, and you have the one that ran, the other one that ran just missed last time, 2 back against the Chosen Vron as well. I forget the Happy. I can't see my form.
Happy Jack, who ran in the Derby a few years ago. Yes. Who's reinvented himself, and I got to make who jokes in my little write-up I did for In the Money Plus. So that always makes me. If I get the classic rock references in there. That's all. That always pleases me. They're loading, Frank. Really
So
appreciate
real quick though, Freight No Chaser, as fast as he is, do you really believe those Maryland figures? I mean, come on.
Well, I went in another direction. So ultimately, I guess the answer is I didn't fully believe them. Stick with me and watch this race, and we'll let you go after. We've got a really fun pre-tape with another guy, Tyler Hoffman from our
I love
BCBC
Tyler.
Diaries show. He punched his ticket for the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge last week in the Monmouth event. He was with us there at Del Mar, but ended up doing a great job. So that was exciting. We're gonna go to him after this, and we're gonna stick around for what do we got? One more at Saratoga and one more at Del Mar. We're gonna do on this show. But right now, let's send it to Trevor with the call.
A day in Asia to the outside gate, goes straight in. All set. And away they go. Pretty Pearl was off slowly. Rest of them broke away well. It's Woodbine Way in the goal down at the rail, showing some early speed. Just in behind them, She's a Joker is right there as well. Coruscation is showing good speed too. Up alongside of those two's Palio's Princess in the vanguard. A day in Asia, White Cap in fourth, only 3 lengths off the leaders. Then we come back to Avon Tap. Up alongside of Avon Tap is Gritty Girl in the red, a good 6 lengths off these leaders. And last of all, Recinto Rompere. They are coming to the top of the lane, and Palio's Princess goes on. Palio's Princess now opens up to lead by 2 as they swing for home. Woodbine Way is in game pursuit from the second spot. A day in Asia in the white cap on the outside, and then She's a Joker. Coming late is Recinto Rompere, but it's all Palio's Princess. Palio's Princess well clear as they run down to the wire. Palio's Princess won it. Recinto Rompere ran on to get second, and she.
Not the worst result for an all, right? A 6-1 shot there.
Yeah, 6-1. That's I feel bad. I talk about how Edwin Maldonado is the best gate jock in the colony, and this horse has speed. And of course, the horse breaks horribly and has no shot with Gritty Girl. Was last out of the gate.
There's a limit to what the jocks can do sometimes,
That's true. That's true. But that was a really tough race. Like I said, I thought anybody could win. It was very difficult.
When you play an all in a situation like that, I mean, obviously, if you're playing the double or something in a race like that, or a pick 3, you're going to be able to weight it. Do you just play all and just, hope for the best? I mean, were you able to? Did you do any pressing?
If I have the time and the mental energy, absolutely. I very rarely play all. Actually, I only did it here because I had to get my bet in to come down and do the show with you, and I was doing the newcomer seminar before the races, so I didn't really have time. I had all my notes, and if I had narrowed it down, if I had gone 5 deep, I probably still wouldn't have had that winner. So I'm glad I went all. But typically, that's not what you want to do. You want to have some sort of an opinion, and even if you do have all kind of as a backup play, you really need to pick a couple of horses and go to war with them. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend using the all button on its own. I would use it as a complement to pressing your other plays. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah, you can't overly rely on it, but there are times where it just makes sense. All right, I just saw that we still don't have producer Craig in the mix, so I need to find this clip of Tyler. I will do that. We may end up missing the Saratoga race for the live broadcast. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Tyler, and Frank, we're going to let you off the hook for a few minutes. If you want to, why don't you look at them come by in the paddock for the next? Who are we looking at there?
I was just bringing it up because Baffert was just walking into the paddock, and we were just talking about him. He was with Kurt Hoover, so I was hoping we'd get a little shot of him there, but
I think we saw him.
we're working out the glitches here.
Yeah, come back, watch him walk through, and then pop back in for the next and last race, and we'll dance from there.
Okay, and I'll see if I can get the screen going. I got to check with my camera person, though. She's on union wages here. I don't know if she can work overtime.
Be careful. See
Shout out to Terry. All right, let me get going, and text me later when you want me back, all right?
As soon as they walk by for the next race, pop in the green room.
Oh, okay, cool. Sounds good.
Awesome. We'll talk later. Frank Scatoni, great to get to see him, hear from him. So now I have to find the file where we have Tyler's interview and get it queued up. And, boys, it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to do my best because this is a cool interview. And I do want to give a little bit of extra love to BCBC Diaries. So this is the new show that we have, and we are covering essentially, and you probably guessed this without me saying it, Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge qualifying. And it's been just an absolute ton of fun. We've got 3 players that we are following. And when we I made this joke in the show, when we came up with the concept, the only fear with the whole thing was that we might, have something frightening happen where we, did this project the whole way and we didn't have anybody qualify. Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore because we had one of our players qualify in last weekend, and that was our buddy Tyler Hoffman. And I am going to figure this out now where I'm going to promote this to the stage, and you might have to watch me fast forward for a second, but
hello and welcome to a new episode of BCBC trying to beat
fun to get the Breeders'
in, etc.
Fun to get the Breeders' Cup entry.
It's not that expensive to play. $600 buy-in, and you have an opportunity to win fabulous prizes, including, assuming the participation is what we think it's going to be, Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat for that one as well. Without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour as far as BCBC Diaries goes, Tyler Hoffman. Welcome back to the show, and congratulations on a fantastic result this past weekend.
Thank you so much, Pete. It's always fun to get the Breeders' Cup entry in and done early in the season.
What was your plan heading into the contest on Saturday? I'd love to get some details from you. And I know we have some video we can show for one of the key races, but let's start off with your mindset for this one.
Yeah, I mean, Monmouth, the Haskell card, incredibly difficult. You had 14 races on the card. It went for like 17 hours long. You had all these turf races with 14 horse fields and stuff. I really wasn't trying to beat the card. I was just trying to beat a race or two. I knew what a target number was to beat that I at least thought would qualify for the BCBC seat. And thankfully enough, I had a couple of races early in the card. I was able to hit one of them and was able to kind of coast the rest of the way through. Let's
drill down on some of what you said there. What was the buy-in and what were you projecting would be the number needed to get the seat?
So it was a $1,000 tournament. 500 went to the prize pool. 500 went to your bankroll. The rules of the contest were you had to play 5 minimum races or minimum bets at $100 a race. You could, of course, bet more than that if you wanted to. You could bet less than that, but it wouldn't count as one of your minimum plays. So with that said, just kind of based on the history, and this is where Monmouth does a really, really nice job of having historical archives to go back and reference. Kind of had a rough idea that in order to finish in the top 10, it looked like right around 3,000, 3,200 was probably going to be the cut line. So as long as you were above that, historically speaking, you probably had a pretty good shot at winning the entry. Now, again, you had a record number of participants in this year's contest, which also would increase the cut line, you would think. But with that said, it probably wasn't going to move it more than a couple of $100 or so from that point, from that standpoint.
Very, very sound logic. I like that idea, what you said, too, about not trying to beat all the races, trying to beat a race or two. What was the spot that you were, let me know a couple of spots you were the most attracted to. And of course, we'll culminate showing the excellent little footage you got of yourself.
Yeah. So the second race on the card was not one of the feature races, obviously, on the Haskell card. It was an optional claiming $20,000 event, a 6 furlong sprint. Going into the day, I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to play. The only consideration really was which horse was I going to key. And I was kind of between a couple of runners, or between the 3 in that race, Awesome City, and the 7, Chuck Willis. One of those 2 is going to be my key horse. I kind of came up with the plan to play exacta boxes. Just kind of depended on which way I was going to go. The bet I ended up making, I decided to use 60% of my bankroll in that race, was I played a $50 key exacta box, ended up being with the 7, Chuck Willis, to both the favorites in the race, Atomic Tone, who was the rail runner, kind of looked like the horse to beat on paper, Awesome City, who was the other possible key horse, the number 3, and then the bottom runner, Wickline, for Brittany Russell off the long layoff in Irad. That horse took a lot of action and kind of scared me into using it, and the exacta payouts were worth using it in that spot. Thankfully enough, it really didn't matter which way I went in the race. Since Chuck Willis, the 7, and the 3 Awesome City ran 1-2, either which way I had to key the race, I would have hit it. And that vaulted me to the top of the leaderboard with a score of just over $4,100. And then I was pretty much coasting from there because there really wasn't a whole lot more on the card that I needed to do to attain the BCBC seat. And then it was just a matter of how much I wanted to risk to try to win the tournament. And we can get into that strategy in a second.
I'm curious to know how confident you were after this that you were golden. I mean, were you waiting for the other shoe to drop, or were you feeling fully? Did it feel like mission accomplished?
No, it felt like mission accomplished at that point. Again, when you only had to make at that point 4 other $100 minimum bets, and there were some big favorites on the card, I basically show betted my way through the middle part of the card, took some of those big favorites just to make sure I hit my minimums. The video that we're going to pull up here in a second is actually from the 14th race, which is the other quote unquote big bet we made in the race. That particular bet was a $100 exacta box between the top 2 finishers. And you can tell from our reaction that we were not sure we were going to win that place photo there. And that vaulted us from 5th to 3rd as it turned out. So that got us another, $7,500 essentially between $1,000 cash in the race and then another $6,500 worth of prize money. So it was still a good feeling to end the contest, despite the fact that it wasn't quite enough to win it. It was still good enough to make it a really memorable day.
And I assume your goal, as you said, just to reiterate, if you'd been trying to win, if it was win or go home, you would have approached it very differently. But, hey, you're on a show called the BCBC Diaries. I'm assuming the goal really was to get that BCBC seat, and you weren't going to do anything to risk getting out of position.
No, you're absolutely correct about that. And again, hindsight 2020, probably could have bet a few $100 more to go for the win. Was a little bit surprised that the winning total ended up right around 6,000. The leader going into that race was sitting at about 5,500. I think he cashed a double to inch his score up a few $100 more. Bill Shenvert, who finished second, he made an incredible bet in the sense that he went all in on the 3 to 5 shot on a win bet to just nose us out of finishing second in the contest. Again, a bet that I'm glad he hit, because if I bet a 3 to 5 shot all in, I know that horse would have lost that race, universally speaking. So there's just always a fun. You never know with 323 people just where that top score is going to go. And the last race, truth be told, was not a race we really planned on betting. It wasn't a race I particularly liked. I really only liked 2 races on the card. The race that we hit, which was race 2. And then the 4th race was going to be another big race, or big bet race. But ironically, with 2 minutes to post, there were 2 late scratches in the field. And then one of the favorites broke through the starting gate as they loaded him in. And at that point, I was so scrambled, I just canceled all the bets I had in the race. And as it turned out, it saved money because we wouldn't have had the exacta play that we were going after.
Probably was it still just a minimum for you there in that 4th race?
No, that was going to be that was going to be a $200 bet,
Gotcha.
Which would have been the total of the 500 for all of the bankroll per se. Had we not hit the earlier race in the contest.
Right. Interesting. So that planned going in, that was going to be huge. Got scaled back, obviously. No need to be overly aggressive there once you'd already gotten yourself into position. I think it's important for people to understand this mindset and the way that you plan this stuff out. Fantastic. You obviously learned it from somewhere. We saw a man in the rooting along with you in the footage we showed before. Tell us about the guys in the photo here with you.
Yeah, obviously the guy who looks like me, that would be my dad. Obviously taught me a lot, and we had a lot of fun playing the contest. Then the other gentleman is my Uncle Ed. He and my dad are the original playing partners, playing tournaments together, dating back to the Agua Caliente days, over in Reno, and the power of the pen for some of you old tournament players who recall those contests back then. So all 3 of us usually aren't together, for a contest, but the fact that we were all down in Del Mar for opening day and opening weekend, it sure was special to get the BCBC seat done and to root together, and we had a lot of fun.
I don't expect those old references from you, but that's obviously your dad's influence. Next, you're going to be telling me about the Cal Neva tournament.
I'm sorry, it was the Cal Neva tournament, not the Agua Caliente. The Agua Caliente was down in Mexico. I got my stories confused from back in the day. That was the power of the pen. Sorry, Dad.
Right. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I had my history mixed up, but I remember working on that book called The Winning Contest Player years ago. A lot of folks would talk about the competition out there. And yeah, that was the early days of tournaments. It's evolved now. This online element is great. The fact that you're playing racing on the Jersey Shore while you were out there at Del Mar. How did you enjoy opening weekend?
I enjoyed Monmouth a lot more than opening weekend, ironically. It was a heck of a lot more profitable, but it was still great to be down at Del Mar. I mean, who's going to complain about having an opening weekend at Del Mar? The weather was perfect. The quality of racing was terrific. And there were a lot of nice prices that won over the course of both days.
So what comes next for you? Are you'll be angling to get another BCBC seat? You'll hopefully be continuing to play on HorsePlayers Happy Hour. Do you have an intermediate goal, or are you just sort of playing it as it lies, as it were?
No, I'll play it as it lies. Obviously, definitely we'll be still continuing to support the HorsePlayer Happy Hour, and certainly trying to win another BCBC seat that way. As far as my dad and I go, we'll be competing in the Del Mar tournament this upcoming Saturday and Sunday. That's a 2-day event. We love that contest. Plentiful of BCBC NHC seats are awarded in that thing. And it's always something that we like to support, along the tournament circuit on the West Coast. So that'll kind of be the next opportunity for Hoffman LLC, so to speak, to try to win some more contest prizes.
Great stuff, Tyler. Appreciate you, and we'll see you on the leaderboard. Thank you, Chris, for pointing out that I had been on mute while I was filibustering there, waiting for this race at Saratoga. I was saying, funny enough, I love the freewheeling nature of these shows. Can't believe I stole JK and Callum's move there, but, these things happen. We're getting ready to go for this one. Curious to know if you have any thoughts or opinions on the idea of these shows all taking place in the window. It's kind of fun being able to have a 7 or 8 race contest. And, folks insisted. We could have stayed on for one more at Del Mar, but tonight I got to go to dinner. So it's not going to happen tonight. But if you like the idea of, if people wildly prefer an 8 race contest to 7, let me know in the comments or holler at me. Happy to take your feelings into consideration as well. And with that, and our final horse approaching the gate, we are going to send things over to Frank.
Settles down. And they're off. Artful Dreamer, flat-footed out of the gate. Kid Creasa, very quick, gets over to the rail, but My Life Story has to steady as a result of that. And here's Mr. Tonic moving up to take second. English Castle is up and on the pace. My Life Story will settle in fourth along the inside. They are followed by Koru. Cash or Chocolate is next. On the outside of them, Slow Down Big Andy, 8 or 9 lengths off the lead. Tis the Prince is down on the hedge. It's a break of 3. Cash or Chocolate is now toward the back of the field. Dakota Country is next, racing on the inside of Artful Dreamer. It's a gap of 5 to the 2 trailers, Temple Creed, and Within View at the back. 23-3 for the opening quarter mile. Kid Creasa, the leader, tracked by Mr. Tonic in second. Then My Life Story racing in third. English Castle is fourth, heading toward the half-mile pole. Down at the rail, Tis the Prince is racing a joint fifth inside of Koru. Another 3 back to Dakota Country, who's followed by Slow Down Big Andy. Then it's Artful Dreamer, Cash or Chocolate along the inside, Temple Creed in between those two, and 6 more to Within View. 48 flat for Kid Creasa. On the outside, Mr. Tonic is in second. They're followed by English Castle getting into it on the outside of them. Third, My Life Story at the rail. Yellow blinkers looking for room, a furlong from the finish. And Mr. Tonic is right up to Kid Creasa. On the outside comes My Life Story in third. Also in it still is English Castle. 16th pole, Kid Creasa resilient, trying to turn away Mr. Tonic. Kid Creasa, Mr. Tonic, they come for the wire together. Photo finish. Noses bobbing up and down.
Wow.
Mr. Tonic or Kid Creasa. It's close between those two.
Tight.
And then behind them, it was Koru and English Castle battling out third and fourth.
Kid Creasa at that big number. I mean, this could be a boil over. We'll bring up the leaderboard and see, but first we'll have to see who wins this photo. We'll bring Frank back in, coming to us from paddock side at Del Mar. I don't know if you can see this. Does this Kid Creasa hold on at 31-1, or does the 7-1 horse in the red on the outside get there in the end? It is dead tight. Let's see. This is a good shot. This is a good camera angle.
Yeah.
Still the 5, still the 5, still the 5. But here comes the decisive Bob. And it's the 8 for a half a second. Now it's the 5. Oh, no. Here is the decisive Bob. And it's going to be the 8. Yeah, there it is. Mr. Tonic getting the job done. Wow. Rough beat. Rough beat if you had the other one there. But that was super fun. Good stuff. What's going on there at Del Mar, Frank? Everything good?
It's all good. You know, I was so excited. I thought I'd like look at the horses and give you my expert paddock opinion, you know, and by the time I fixed the camera, it's vertical now, you see, right? Is that better?
You did a lovely job there. It looks excellent.
By the time I did that and took 2 steps to get to where I usually hang out, I got bombarded by about 30 people, and I didn't even get to see the horses as they walked around and made their way out onto the track. So we'll have to look at the TV and see what's what, but it looks like the number 2 here, the horse that ran 4th to Eagles Flight in the debut is taking all the money. Visceral.
How has that form line worked out so far? What have the other? We haven't seen Eagles Flight yet. What have the other runners to come out of that race done?
I have not looked at the chart for that, but I can tell you this: before that race, that debut race for this Mark Glad horse, you know, me and TQ, we do a lot of notes in Formulator. We keep a database based on our observations and some of his physicality stuff. But before that race, we had Toby Terrell had a super work. So the horse was training very, very well up into that debut, was 9-1. Now you'd say, oh, the horse didn't take money, but you got to keep in mind, Eagles Flight was, I think, 1-5 in that race or something. So
surprisingly, only even money. One.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, 110-1. But remember, Santarena was also in there.
The career maiden. Yes.
Yeah. Adelon. So it's the form is either which way at this point. So Santarena came back and ran the 70 the other day in that race. That was the big boil over that Miramati was in. But
right.
The other one to come back and run from that race. Atitlan, that horse got shifted to the turf for Sheriff.
Well, Atitlan won.
Yeah, that horse won that was that bomb 35-1.
Yeah, the other Sheriff's bomb who won on the turf.
Very inconclusive, I would say, is the form for that race. So really hard to make any wild assessments. As soon as this race goes live, we're going to show. We'll do the leaderboard, but we're not quite live yet. We haven't quite updated with that result from Saratoga.
The other thing to keep in mind is, we got to look for the computer money to come in late, because keep in mind the 2-horse is partly owned by My Racehorse, and we know that the fractional syndicate owners really like to get bet their horses and root for the win. So it is possible that a lot of that early money is from the My Racehorse crowd, and we'll see if the Baffert horse, number 4, who's my top pick, we'll see if that horse takes the computer money and the market kind of evens out a little bit.
I can see it. What do you have cooking as far as the pick 6 goes?
I was alive after the first leg with the all, and I'm single to Canada Gate here, the 4.
Okay.
And my case is simple. I mean, when do you see a John Mont Baffert horse so lukewarmly bet in the starts? That tells me that the horse just wasn't ready. They were just giving educational runs, 2 sprint races around the track, freshen the horse up a little bit, stretch the horse out for the first time, run okay, boom, prep race, go time at Del Mar to break the maiden. I think Canada Gate is the one to beat. You always, whenever you pick a Baffert and he has 2 and you pick the shorter price, you always have to be wary of the longer one. I call it the Baffert shell game. He's got Winter Felon here. That one is currently 7-1, so not taking much money on the tote, but that doesn't really matter when it's the other Baffert. But I think Canada Gate's ready to run the race.
I hear you. That day also, Timeform anyway, had as speed favoring, and Pony Express, who ran off and hid on the front end, was on the lead. Canada Gate in second, just sort of stayed second the whole way. Does look like a horse who could move up. Time Form does have Visceral with the pace advantage here coming out of that 6 furlong race, but horse has to stay. We'll see if the horse can stay. Glad off to a terrific start at the meet. Definitely interesting to see how that one's going to play out here at Del Mar. I have somebody visiting me. Who is that? Is that Rob or is that somebody else? It's Rob, our regular viewer, Rob Capalbo, here in the house with an amazing Lucha Libre Aloha shirt. That is very, very fresh. Frank, you would wear this, I think. Pretty funny. All right, so we had a tough beat in the comments. We will give sympathy. Chris Couples had the pick 5 ticket. 5-7-12 that singled Reddington. Tough beat there. It's horse racing. It happens, but it's never fun as we start to approach the gate here for this last at Del Mar. What else is coming up this weekend at Del Mar? Have you looked at the San Diego? I know you've got some other stuff we can promote in terms of how people can get more from you, whether it's on the In the Money Plus side or over at the Del Mar website. Give us some plugs.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking to your man Mike, and we're going to do another little brief podcast for some. Haven't decided yet. I think I'm going to do some spot plays for Sunday, or maybe look at a pick 4 or a pick 5. They haven't drawn yet. Someone said
Sunday, an important day, day 2 of the Del Mar Challenge. Yes. We're going to have a show with your buddy Kieran. Oh, production meeting in the middle of the show. Remind me Kieran's last name.
Kieran Thornton.
Thornton.
Like Jennifer.
He says the the legendary. He says the N.
Thornton, yes.
Some of them say Thornton.
Kieran Thornton, yes.
He likes the N. Okay. Because Jennifer Thornton, I feel like I don't say the N when I say that. Did I just do that wrong for 30 years?
Well, I mean, it's hard. The N kind of just slides in, you know. It's tough. Thornton. I don't know. I think it was Thornton Mellon, Rodney Dangerfield's character from
I would say
school?
Thornton, 100% Thornton, no N. The Triple Indy, one of the great underrated films of all time, Back to School. Sally Kellerman's performance, reading Molly Bloom's speech from Ulysses. I mean, it's so hip, it's almost square. And nothing, as far as I'm concerned, in the history of cinema, beats the Kurt Vonnegut cameo in Back to School. Honestly, maybe the McLuhan cameo in Annie Hall, but that's 1 and 1A for like the hippest cameos in the history of cinema. So, anyway, Kieran and I will be on talking. We're going to do spot plays for the 2 days of the Del Mar Handicapping Challenge. Will you be participating in it? BCBC seats on the line.
I will. I play every year. It's the one tournament that I save up for because I know it's my home track. I'm with my friends. It's a good time, and it's a good chance to make a lot of money. So, I also love the 2-day format because if you get skunked on day 1 or have a bad, if you have a bad day, you still have some bankroll preserved to fire away on day 2. So it's one of my favorite tournaments of the year. So yes, I will indeed be playing. And so if you're out at the track, you can come see me before the races on Saturday at the seminar with Jason Avila.
Nice.
He's gonna be the guest. You did it last week, Pete. And then on Best Bet, we're gonna have Scott Shapiro, who I know has done stuff for you in the past before, but currently he's doing some stuff for First Racing and doing the closer looks for DRF. How about that?
Very cool. He's a very hard worker, extremely studious, very charismatic. Always love having Scott on the airwaves. I'm glad you reminded me. We'll have to have him back soon. He's shifted roles since the last time we had him on, so we'll work the politics of that. But we'll bring him on and we'll make the magic happen. But that's super fun. And I also love the idea that it sounded like you were looking to have some of the. We were talking earlier with a younger player, our friend Callum Hellowell from the UK. I know platforming younger horse players is something you believe in as well, and something you'll be doing this summer.
We're not going to be doing this forever, Pete. At some point, we got to hand off the torch. So, my goal this summer is to at least on the on track stuff, because of just the vibe, the atmosphere. There's so many young people here looking to have fun, want to get them involved in the game. trying to skew a little younger this summer. So, for instance, I have Jackson Muniz lined up.
Nice.
He's going to be doing one of the seminars. I have a young kid here who I met. He's currently interning right now for Del Mar, but he's been playing the races for a long time, and he just loves to talk handicapping and horse racing. Yeah. Ryan Anderson, who got to hang out with Troy Aikman on opening day, so which was pretty funny. But yeah, we're going to have him on, and just try. And he's very math oriented, right? Super smart guy. Just try to get younger people on who, have come into this game in a different way than you or I have, right? I mean, back in the day, we had the racing form, and that was pretty much it. We couldn't afford the Ragazines or the Thoroughgrass. They were out of our price range, but we could share a racing form among the four of us.
I remember, and don't tell our friends over there this. Do you remember me at Simon & Schuster running off copies of the DRF? I would buy the giant broadsheet before. Nowadays everybody does 8.5 by 11 because that's printer paper. But we were the first ones. We were the early adopters of the 8.5 by 11 because I would take it by 17 and shrink it down. So you, me, and Scott Capolo could read the racing form. I hope the statute of limitations is off on this.
Over.
Copyright gods don't get me. We're off at Del Mar. Let's go to Trevor.
Gate is very fast. Canada Gate in the pink cap showing good speed too. Visceral in the red right behind him. Then it's Battle Cruiser. Indispensable is forced to go a little wide into the turn. The pace is good early on.
That's okay. This one will stop. Just stay where you are, right?
I love my position. I wouldn't trade it with anyone.
Captain Coochie's
the two's running, but might be like
they go.
You could get off the bridle
a good hold
early
here,
from
leads
that
him
position,
at a good pace by 3 parts of a length. Canada Gate.
You just don't want to press the button too early.
Now getting a little closer too. Then it's 2 lengths back to Battle Cruiser. Visceral in the red is 4th, only 3 lengths. We come back to Winter Fell in the blue colors. Just in behind Winter Fell comes Captain Coochie's, and at the back is Mongolian Gold. They sprint into the far turn, and a bit mischievous has a 3 parts of a length lead. Canada Gate has been right there the whole time. These two kick 3
lengths. The one's letting it out, huh?
Visceral is chasing after them from 3rd. He's in with a shot.
That horse is supposed to
just in behind that, we have Indispensable in 4th, 5, and closing 2. Behind that is
1. You're 17 to 1. Now's the time to stop.
Canada Gate gets the lead.
Go on with this Canada Gate.
Indispensable coming to take him on the outside. A bit mischievous is not done yet. Either back in 3rd, and then Visceral. They come for home. A bit mischievous is very game at the rail, but on the outside it's Indispensable.
Come on, fight.
Canada Gate between them, 3 in a line with 100 to go. Indispensable just on the outside getting the lead. They run down to the wire, and Indispensable won it.
Just can't have it.
Boo. Horse rank.
Oh, for 8. I can't have it. I can't have it.
What was it? Who was it? Tell us about the winner. What was the form?
It was Indispensable. It was the other Sadler. Of course, Hector Berrios is riding really well, but the horse is 0 for 8, losing on dirt, losing on turf, just a grinder. He got the right setup, and like my position. I thought I had the best horse in the race, just wasn't good enough.
The one running so well skunked you a bit.
Yeah, because the one kept letting it out, and the 4 had to keep going with. There were really no excuses. I mean, it's a Juddmonte homebred trained by Baffert. You're supposed to win that race.
Of course, was supposed to win. But I'm just saying, if the one hadn't put up such a fight, if the 4 made the lead more easily, might have gotten a little brave. I think he emptied it out a little bit because he had to work so hard to take down the 1, and he was left vulnerable to the late punch. But you're right. It's not like, I want to bet that horse back. It's more just like, you were a little unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, that's racing, right? You turn the page. What do we got? It's the race 5? Is it the start of the pick
4, baby?
4, pick 4, right back in. Once more onto the breach. Turn the page. What price is that horse? 7-2, 7-2 on the horse.
Yeah, decent price. Plenty will have had, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's hard to take these 0 for 8 types when they're not dropping, against horses like that. I mean, we stayed. The my race horse ended up just being kind of over bad. Didn't do anything. Yeah, but no, I think you could feel a little.
don't know if unlucky is the right word, but you can feel like you had the right idea. It was the right idea, but you have to look at the range of plausible outcomes, and that was certainly within the range of plausible outcomes. But when you see it play out, sometimes you feel, I don't know. I think you could feel justified in the way you saw the race coming in and the way it played out, which is kind of funny to talk about in a one, we're trying to look at things holistically and we're talking about one data point. But I still think you can't feel too bad about it. It just didn't work out.
No. I mean, look, the whole point of the sequence, and I talked with this about Mike, and I also write about this. I wrote about this in Frankly Speaking, because I let your readers know, who I liked in the sequence. You have to isolate the races where you have to be spready in and where you have to be tight. To me, that was the race you had to be tight in, because I didn't expect a price horse to win that race. So even here, the horse, I didn't come up with the horse, but the horse was only 7-2. A bomb wasn't going to win that race. So in my opinion, you needed to be tight there. So you could be spready in leg 1. And then there's another race later on that I think you have to be spready in. So when you're playing a sequence, you have to, you can't just, I mean, you can caveman it, but you have to decide which races are the spread ones and which ones are the tight ones, and just play it accordingly. And that, to me, if I had gone 3 deep in that race and not hit it, I would have felt like a moron, So I'm perfectly happy planting the flag with the 4. Everything worked out the way I thought it would, except the result.
Yeah, exactly. Process oriented. I think that's the term we're looking for there. All right, we are all official. I'm going to bring this in, and we're going to read this leaderboard, and then we are going to wrap the show. Godspeed this weekend, Frank, in the contest.
Thank you.
Following along with interest. We'll be checking out In the Money Plus for Frankly Speaking, and we will also be checking out your other coverage, which you can find on the Del Mar website. So appreciate you coming by, and we'll be talking soon, brother.
Just real quick, who's top of the leaderboard? I can't see.
So Jay Davis, you can stick around if you want to hear me read the board.
Yeah, I'll hear you read the board, and then I'll pop out.
I like it. Jay Davis is the winner this week, and Thomas Lapadat, 2 names I don't know. So that's very interesting. That's 2 people who will get to contribute, get to participate, I should say, in our end of season tournament, our 80-player tournament. Then, as far as tour points go, John Bull III in 3rd, Michael Saletta, who's been ripping it up on the HHH tour, who has been in the comments today, he is in 4th place. Pete Dreston's in 5th. Stephen Queso, Tyler Hoffman, there's that name again. Continues his hot streak, getting valuable tour points. He'll go on to play in the feeder at the weekend. How about this? Tony Schiavone. You don't suppose it's the same Tony Schiavone, do you, Frank?
From wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
The same way. He could be a DG. You never know. Jeff Van Dree in 9th. Aurelio Garcia in 10th. Togo Travaglia in 11th. Kenneth Pittman in 12th. I'm going to go down, is it 17th? Top 18. So we'll go down to 18th. Stephen McNatt, David Browning, our former champ. Dylan Donnelly, well known in the contest world.
Nice.
Troy Vandemer, GT Nixon, and Wendy Long, who joined us on an early season BCBC Diaries. So there you have it. Those are our 18 who move on to play on Saturday. I know you don't have time much to look at the Saratoga races, but I want to see your name, Frank, on this leaderboard. It's an amazing opportunity between the just regular feeder aspect into Saturday, cut going to charity, and then 20,000 added to the pot. You only have to play 1 week to potentially participate in that prize pool if you finish 1st or 2nd. Great opportunity for players. Mike says thanks. I say thank you for supporting us and HorsePlayer Happy Hour. That's going to do it for this edition of HorsePlayers Happy Hour. For Frank Scattoni, Callum Hellowell, Tyler Hoffman, and what's that other guy's name? The Uber pass, Jonathan Kinchin. Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.